Good evening, Surgiverse faithful, and welcome to night 2 of M.I.L.W. Whether you were here with us last night, or whether you're here purely for just night 2 events, we welcome you with open arms, for we have quite a spectacle to put on tonight for you all. Some of the things that will be talked about, discussed: queers in wrestling, the beauty and the beast of the business, how Sergi hopes to finish their own story, a little talk about merchandising, as well as what it takes to socialize when being a wrestling fan. I hope you all have gotten your snacks ready, your most comfiest, coziest of spots ready, because this one's going to be a long one. And I assure you that it's going to top anything you've experienced before. With all that out of the way, please join me in welcoming our hostess with the mostest. They are small but fierce, and that's but with 2 T's. Why? Because they are terribly thick. They are the purveyors of posteriors. They are the connoisseur of cake. They are the mazaku of madness. They are the resident retro E&B. Why? Because they gotta. They are cursed, but they are also quite kawaii. Please join me in welcoming the reigning, defending, undisputed champion of the Surgiverse. This is Sergi Des So. What is going on, Surgiverse faithfuls? Yes, it is I, the hostess with the mostest, the backside of all backsides, Sergi Heckin Desu. I'm feeling some real good energy, right? Last night, I dropped night 1, obviously. And it was not without his botches and his miscues and his just frustrations. For those that were listening, yes, I had to redo this or 5 times. 5 whole times I had to redo night 1. It was just botch after botch after botch after botch. Sergi, what is a botch? You didn't really explain that. Well, I think in the context it's being used, I think you can understand what it means, but let me be respectful for those that still don't understand it. Botch is a mess up. It is a miscue. It's an oopsie daisy. It is a Freudian slip. Yes, it's a mulligan or whatever they. Yeah. So it was hard, man. I had to fight tooth and nail to get that thing to work, to just be a friend to me. because it didn't want to be a friend to me. It wanted to be an enemy. It wanted to be my nemesis. It wanted to be the heel in my story, which we will talk about actually. How pray tell do I go about finishing my story? Look at that little segue. Yes. So to preface this, there is a professional wrestler right now that goes by the name of Cody Rhodes. A phenomenal individual. He's the current undisputed WWE champion. And I implore you, whenever you get a chance, to just go ahead and check out some of his stuff. There's a lot of good out of context or Cody Rhodes destroying wrestlers videos. I might even try and link a few. But barring all of that, Cody is just a phenomenal individual. He's a father. He's for the culture. He's got dogs. He loves video games. Big Zelda fan. Just good human being to experience in person if you have the chance to. I remember, so whenever I was doing my whole talk about going to see New Japan live back in 2018, I actually had my first chance to see Cody Rhodes. I didn't get to meet him in person, but I got to see him because he was wrestling in New Japan. He was a part of this big story that they had going on at that time that I was completely not in the know of, but to see how it had unfolded in person, I was like, oh my goodness. Just another one of those, hey, I really need to catch on to whatever the heck's going on here because this is real. Now, with all that out of the way, Cody, he was out of the WWE for a long time, right? He was with them for a good period of time and then he left. And as a result of doing so, back then, whenever somebody left WWE, they were always kind of seen as like this exiled individual that was not going to be able to really do anything outside of WWE because, I mean, what is there to do outside of WWE other than work small indie shows and barely make enough to make ends meet? Especially if you're somebody that's looking to have a family or whatever, or you're striving for things, and it just wasn't like feasible, at least to what a lot of people said back then. I would say that there have been a lot of success stories in that case where people left the big corporate machine and they've been able to function outside of that realm of WWE. It's just that, like with a lot of things, you don't really get a lot of proper media on it. It's always like we want to kind of push this whole, hey, you can't really do good outside of this. And then it's like, well, wait, I've actually been able to do really good outside of this. What do you mean, brother? And it's like, Cody, he left, what, 2016? Yes. Yes, he left 2016. And he had been working all over the place. Ring of Honor, New Japan, a whole bunch of smaller indie companies and all that stuff. It turned into like this really, really kind of like inspiring story of, hey, I don't need WWE to be great. And he was able to fulfill that. Because then he would go and do some great things in New Japan with a faction known as the Bullet Club. Uh, you might have heard that name in passing at some point, or you might have even seen some person walking around with like a skull shirt that had like bullets on it and it says Bullet Club. Yeah. Like the Bullet Club shirt is like the AC/DC shirt or the Metallica shirt or something. It's just that type of club, right? Where it's like, even if you're not a fan, you just rock the shirt and all that stuff. So Cody, he does stuff with New Japan, and then here comes 2017 going into 2018, and he's a part of this cool little clique of dudes doing his thing. And they decide, man, what if we decided to try and do something on our own, right? And it's like, these are a lot of guys that they're just like him. They've been working the indie scene. They've been kind of grinding, vibing, making ends meet outside of WWE because they're like, screw WWE, screw Vincent Kennedy McMahon, and I mean rightfully so. And they decide to come together and do this very passionate show called All In. How about that? Yeah, that All In. I talked about that last night. They do that. It was a hit. It was a success. It sold out in minutes. It was just like bang. And they're like, "Oh, we got something here." So, come to Cody was one of the people to initiate and tread set the inception of All Elite Wrestling. He was one of the EVPs for this company, All Elite Wrestling, with them since the very beginning, doing phenomenal things, having exceptional moments in AEW. And then he decided that it was time to move on to some bigger, better things. And that was a couple years ago. He left All Elite Wrestling. Some people still speculate as far as like what caused him to leave the company, because it's like, well, brother, you were hyping up everything with All Elite Wrestling, and now you're suddenly leaving this company, because it's like you were with like WWE, and clearly that wasn't working. So you went and you did all this stuff on the indies, and then you created a whole company, and now you're leaving that company. And it's like, it's not to say that he doesn't wish them the best. Like, his whole objective was he wanted to change the world. And in a way, he did that with having All Elite Wrestling, because it had its own ripple effect on the wrestling industry. Like, to say WWE wasn't trying to make sudden changes because of how meteoric the rise was of AEW is foolish. So, Cody decided that he's going to leave AEW, and, well, lo and behold, he decides to go back to WWE of all places. This is a vastly different WWE than when he was in there. Because for Cody, when he was in WWE prior, he was not really the person that I feel like he wanted to be, but he was willing to make everything work. He had been playing different characters, trying to get over, trying to manage things, and it's like his family. He has like a very established family or esteemed family. His father is Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. If you if you've ever heard that name, amazing, then you understand. If not, go ahead and look him up. Just give him a look-see loo. And the thing about it is that Cody had an objective, a new objective, and it was to obtain the title that his father never won. His father was never WWE champion. And that became like the whole thing for Cody. He came back. He said, "Hey, I'm on this tour. I want to try and finish the story." That was the whole thing. Is like he wanted to finish the story. And in doing so, he had to really show people, especially guys that had been with the company for the some odd years that he had been gone, and they saw him from a distance, and they saw what he was trying to do and how he was talking about the company that he had left, WWE. And now to come back and being like, "Hey guys, I'm ready to finish the story, and I'm ready to try and achieve something." And they're just like, "Brother, weren't you the guy that talked all that talk about us? And now you're at our door, just like, hey, can I be a part of the club again?" And that went on for quite a while. There were a lot of shots that were taken at him, but he took him in stride because he knew that it was inevitable. But that didn't deter him from his objective. He would go and have some just incendiary feuds with a lot of different wrestlers. One in particular, Seth Rollins, who I felt like was the torchbearer or is the torchbearer for WWE, outside of another individual who I'll get to. And they had some very just gnarly matches, I feel like. But then we cut to 2022 to 2024, the earliest portion of this year specifically. Cody would go on to have this finish the story arc. And he came to the doorstep of the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, who was just on this just massive tear, right? And now we have Cody, just white hot, crowd still just going crazy anytime that man stepped out. Of course, that meant the man was over, if you remember from last night's terminology section. Man was getting pops left and right, still is. 2023, he wins the Men's Royal Rumble, essentially giving him a one-way ticket to the Tribal Chief at WrestleMania in April of that year. It starts this whole just arc of him having these just volatile promos and back and forths with Roman Reigns. And it wasn't just Roman Reigns, because the tribal chief rolls deep and he has his bloodline and everything. And it came to lead up to a very intriguing experience at WrestleMania. Because for Cody, he knew he was not going to be fighting just Roman Reigns. He knew he was going to have to deal with the whole entire bloodline. And such he did. Roman's cousins, the Usos, granted they had lost the tag team titles the night before, they were still there in attendance to help their cousin. But I don't think they were expecting Cody to have some semblance of backup in the form of the newly crowned tag champions at that time, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. They came to Cody's rescue. And it seemed like, oh man, maybe this historic run that Roman's on is about to come to an end. Maybe Cody's got a shot. Cody manages to catch Roman Reigns and deliver a pair of crossroads, his finisher. And he's setting up for the third and final crossroads, but unfortunately, the bloodline is just a little too deep. There is but one other individual that managed to put the proverbial Samoan nail in the coffin, in the form of the enforcer of Roman Reigns, his other cousin, Solo Sikoa. Cody is stunned long enough to receive a thunderous spear, and he loses. The story that we were hoping to see finished is not finished. He sits in the middle of the ring, defeated, and realizes that this was probably my best shot at finishing the story. Now it's back to square one. The next calendar year would be nothing short of inspiring and motivating in the case of Cody. Not seeing this as, oh, well, I guess I'm just not meant to be that guy, or maybe this is them saying that they're ready to just kind of put me in a lower spot on the card. He would go on to have a lot of other feuds, one namely with the one and only Beast, Brock Lesnar, which I felt like was a great measuring stick. I see, as much as I don't care too much for this guy, Brock Lesnar, it is undeniable that he is a glorified measuring stick of just how good are you at this. Man has talent for days, even in his 40s, pushing 50. Absolute monster in the ring. And honestly, not half bad as like somebody when it comes to selling for another wrestler. Some people, they look at Brock and they're like, oh, he's just a bully. All he wants to do is do his stuff and that's it. He just beats you. No, he knows how to tell a story. He knows how to have some psychology. He knows how to sell for people. It's just that he's not going to give it to you for free. Cody manages to survive that feud. He goes on to start working towards getting into the Royal Rumble for 2024, knowing that this is his one-way ticket to fighting Roman Reigns once again. Roman, he's riding high. He's feeling good. He's like, I got rid of the biggest issue. Now I can just kind of sit back, relax, chill out, keep adding to my historic reign as champion. Bloodline still doing bloodline things. Cody manages to get into the Royal Rumble 2024. But it is not just one Cody Rhodes, it is another individual who threatens Cody's one way ticket to WrestleMania again, and that is CM Punk, a returning CM Punk. It led to them kind of having shots back and forth in good jest, and just in a friendly sense. But CM Punk made it a known fact that he was just as hungry, if not hungrier than Cody, for this shot at being a champion. And Cody, not being one to lay down for anybody, he saw it as an opportunity, a challenge to really prove his worth, show his mettle. And to have the experience that was had at Royal Rumble this year, it was sensational in its own right because it was very much looking like Cody was not going to be the next man to go back to back with Royal Rumbles. CM Punk was setting him up to throw him out, wipe his hands, and say it's time to go to WrestleMania, baby. But Punk made a fatal mistake in plucking at the heart of Cody Rhodes, making a statement that lit a fire under Cody's ass, and Cody would turn the tables, and he would get the final elimination, thus becoming a two-time Royal Rumble winner, and in this case, a back-to-back Royal Rumble winner. This would lead us into a very similar, but in a lot of ways different experience leading up to this past April's WrestleMania. Cody, understanding the deal with Roman, understanding the deal with the bloodline, made it very clear that he was coming and that he wanted to make sure that he finished the story this time and that he had to finish the story this time. Because he knew, and everybody knew, deep down, there's no way that he bounces back from this if he loses again. Roman, being the typical heel, the overbearing tyrant that he is, just taunting Cody at every turn, showing that he is the man at the top of the mountain. He will remain as such. But Cody is not allowing himself to remain phased at all. That was until a very interesting experience took place, barely a month away from WrestleMania. And that was in the form of a returning character. That is the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He returns, and we get the experience of Cody essentially turning over the keys to the WrestleMania main event, which was just so uncharacteristic. Everybody was just up in arms, right? Because you need to finish the story and you're giving it to this bum. Well, I mean, yeah, like it's The Rock, but you're giving the keys to this bum? Like this man has been Hollywooding it and politicking it and all this other stuff for the longest time. Like, yes, of course, recently The Rock was signed on to the board for I already forgot the name, TK something. But they are the owners of both UFC, was it Endeavor? Yeah, UFC and all that stuff, WWE. I didn't bother getting into all that because I didn't care too much. But either way, it was so weird. You could see it on Cody's face whenever he shook The Rock's hand. He was just like, nah, I made the wrong choice. And it's like the next couple of weeks, it was just like, oh yeah, it's gonna be the Rock and Roman at WrestleMania, Rock and Roman WrestleMania. Oh, it's a dream match, blah blah blah. And then we get to media leading up to that, and it's like the initial plan was, oh yeah, we're gonna have the Rock and Roman night two, and then it's gonna be Cody Rhodes versus the World Heavyweight Champion Seth freaking Rollins. And it's like that's how it's gonna be. That's it. Book it, sell it. That's done. But both Cody and Seth came to agree and said, nah, that's bullshit, Chief. We don't even want that. So we get to the media screen, the medium. I'm, I think it's Scrum, right? Yeah, medium Scrum. But we get to that, and Cody makes it a known thing that it's like this is bullshit, and he says that verbatim. And he's like, no, I'm going to challenge the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, for the WWE Undisputed Championship. And he makes it known that that's going to be him and Roman, and they're going to do this dance. And The Rock is just like, nah, chief, I don't think you are. You already made that decision. But the fans make it known. Triple H makes it known that it's going to be Roman versus Cody. And as a result of such, Mr. Dwayne The Rock Johnson decides that, hey, I'm just gonna slap the shit out of you because you're a child of me. I'm gonna treat you like dog water. The fact that you were able to go ahead and stand up to me when I'm in charge, stand up to my family because we are at the top of this mountain. You are beneath me. It causes this breakout. It's entertaining though, and it's like the people are getting what they want, but of course it's going to come at a price because it is then shortly after that The Rock and Roman decide that they're going to form a tag team to face Cody Rhodes and Seth freaking Rollins night one. And the stipulations are that if Cody and Seth Rollins lose, they are forced to experience a Bloodline Rules match between Cody and Roman on night two. Now, to say that I expected anything less would be naivety at its finest, but it was still an entertaining tag match for night one of WrestleMania. And of course, I am leaving out that like everything leading up to WrestleMania was just chaos. Like Seth and Cody just periodically getting beaten down by The Rock and Roman, just to kind of really nail home the point that yeah, we are the head of the WWE and all of wrestling. But it's like it's very much a we don't lay down for anybody situation, and that's what happened. Now, Seth and Cody, they would go on to lose, unfortunately, for night one. And we get that very reminiscent shot of night two from the previous year's WrestleMania of Cody just sitting in the ring looking defeated and just even me, I was like, oh my god, they're doing the thing again. But I was like, wait, there's something different about this time. And I was right to feel that way. Because then we get into night two. Everything is just white hot. Everything is hitting on all sixes. It is a beautiful experience. And then we get to the main event. Bloodline Rules, the tribal chief Roman Reigns versus the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes. This match goes off without a hitch. It goes on as expected. And it comes to a certain point where we're starting to see shades of 2023. We start to see the bloodlines slowly come out, creeping from the shadows. But there's something a little different about this time, right? Because the Usos at this point are no longer a tag team, they've split up. Jimmy and Jay had a match the first night, brother versus brother. Jimmy is coming out. He's coming out to help his brother, or his cousin rather. And as he is doing so, his brother comes out to make the save. Takes out Jimmy, spears him off the stage. Boom. There goes one bloodline member. Roman now has to see if he can weather the storm and finish off this pest Cody Rhodes. Then we get a very similar experience. Solo Sikoa comes out. And everybody's like, oh, here we go again. Gonna get hit with the Samoan spike. We're gonna get the spear. We're going home. Cody's not gonna be champion ever again. But this time, somebody from the past, a legend, comes out. It is the one, the only John Cena. John had suffered a severe beating from Solo Sikoa at the previous Money in the Bank event. And it seemed like John wasn't going to really do much of wrestling for a while, but I guess he felt the need to step in and right some wrongs and set the record straight. Takes out Solo Sikoa, puts him through a table. That's how it goes. But then things get real, right? The final boss, as he is now going, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, comes out. The history between Rock and Cena is only usurped by Rock and Austin and Rock and Triple H, in my opinion. Changed my mind. That is in his top 3. Personally, for me, in his top 3 of feuds. Rock versus Cena. Rock comes out. Cena notices that it's time for some unfinished business. They stare down each other in the middle of the ring. Cena, as in defiance, you can't see me. Tries to throw a punch, eats a mean rock bottom, middle of the ring. Rock just tells him simply, get the fuck out of my ring. And then he starts to make his way over to a downed Cody Rhodes, brandishing a weight belt in his hand, ready to whip Cody like he did several weeks ago. Right in front of Cody's mom, who's in the front row, watching her son weather this ever so just arduous storm. And before Dwayne can land the sickening blow across Cody's back, the lights go out and a very eerie gong is heard. The crowd loses their mind, and I lose my mind. Because a lot of people were expecting Stone Cold to come out to make the save. I'm sure there were some people that were expecting Triple H to just, even though Triple H is essentially retired, he's beat up, battered. Some people were probably expecting the King of Kings to just come out and make one final save as the CEO and all that. But no, it was actually The Undertaker. The Undertaker was the man to come from the shadows. Is like this agent of vengeance and justice. He comes from the shadows, appears behind The Rock, who's just losing his mind, like, where is he at? Where is he at? I mean, we get it. It's hokey. Because they're like, brother, how do you not know to look behind you immediately? But it's show business. Just suspend the belief, brother. Kayfabe, brother. Kayfabe. Rock finally turns around, stares death right in the eyes. He gets choked up real quick and dropped down for a thunderous choke slam. I'm sure that man ripped his pants as tight as those pants were. That choke slam was just everything. He got choke slammed out of his entire body. And then the lights go out. Undertaker and The Rock are no more in the middle of the ring. And now Roman coming to, realizing that his entire squad has been dispatched by what is known simply to this day as Cody Rhodes' Avengers team. I still think that's the funniest thing. They're just like, yeah, this is Cody Rhodes' Avengers team. And I mean, I feel it. Like, you got Jey Uso, you got John Cena, you got The Undertaker. That's a pretty decent Avengers team. There's a lot of memes behind that too. I like them. But Roman, he's coming too. He's got Cody. Oh, I almost forgot. And there was Seth Rollins. I apologize to this man. Seth Rollins came out at one point as if to kind of try and throw a distraction. He had actually come out just before The Undertaker, and he tried to attack The Rock, but he got speared by Roman. Now, there's a lot of history between Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, right? They used to be a part of a faction known as the Shield, a strong brotherhood of freed men. They were just running roughshod on the WWE for a long time, it felt like. But, yeah. Roman had Seth and Cody dead to rights. It was one of those moments like in a video game where it's like you have to choose who, and Roman had a chair in his hands. He could have taken Cody out. It would have been a certified 1, 2, 3, go home, take several months off because I beat Cody again and there's nobody else to beat, and I'll just remain champion forever. Or he could settle a decade-long feud, a decade-long betrayal, even, with Seth Rollins. Roman allowed emotions to win that night. He struck Seth in the back with a chair. He took out all his anger, his resentments, his despair, his angst, his sadness, all of that on Seth. Seth had betrayed him and their fellow brother, Dean Ambrose, and broke up the Shield. And as a result of such, this was the turning point in which Roman finally looked a little more human, right? Up until this point, he had been domineering, he had been calculated, and if he was still at a disadvantage, he always had the bloodline. This is the one time he didn't have the bloodline. He wasn't calculated, and he looked beatable. And as a result of such, Cody took advantage of that. Roman tried to set up for another spear. He got countered, and it was on and popping. Cody caught him with one crossroads. Picked him up. Caught him with another crossroads. Picked him up. And he nailed that final crossroads. Center of the ring. Hit the cover. 1, 2, 3. This man finally finished the story. And let's not overlook the call that was made by Michael Cole. Finish the story. It was a beautiful experience, man. He finally finished the story. So, for me, it made me think about what does it look like for me to finish my story, right? I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not sure. But I know for one thing, the biggest thing that's going to help me with getting even close to finishing my story is with my gender, for sure. This is the biggest thing. I've been kind of hinting at it here and there with certain friends, talking about it, but like that's got to be the biggest thing. But also just being able to finally chase those goals that I have in store for myself, be it writing, maybe making a graphic novel or a book, or even making short films. Some of those things I feel like would put me in a space where I could say that I've been able to finish my own story. But for the time being, I just have to keep doing the work. Just like Cody says, you got to do the work. I think that this is the coolest thing ever, to be able to see somebody do something like that. You always want to see somebody finish their story, because then it's like if you haven't gotten to that point, it gives you that motivation that ever so needed boost to do so, right? At least in my eyes, I feel like that's the case. And that's where I'm at. That's kind of how view wrestling, is that it's always been like a motivation to work on something on myself. Because it's the look, I can't say this enough. Wrestling, for whatever you may view it as, has to be one of the realest forms of media and storytelling that there is. Regardless of how you feel, what you say, just wrestling is amazing, man. It really is. So here's a question for you guys, right? When you think of wrestling, as far as like how you can show your support, what would be the main thing that you can think of when it comes to supporting a wrestler? For some, it's probably something as simple as following them on social media, right? Yeah, that actually counts. Maybe not being weird and sliding in their DMs, but yeah. Another way would probably be having a sign up for them when they're at a wrestling show. Yeah, that's also really good. Another great way, I would say, though, is probably merchandise. Merchandise, man. So I talked a little bit about indies yesterday, but I didn't really get into it like I wanted to, mainly because that last take, I completely forgot about the stuff I talked about in like several takes ago, and that was one of the things I talked about. I digress. When it comes to the indies, merchandising is super important. For a lot of these wrestlers, like Cody Rhodes before he came back to WWE, that was like their lifeline, right? And that's just like with indie music, that's like with indie film developers, that's like with indie video games. Buying merchandise helps. And it is no different in wrestling. Especially in wrestling, man. Like these guys are putting their bodies on the line. They're hitting shows all over the country. Some of them are flying overseas to do shows because they're making ends meet. This is their lifeline. So being able to sell t-shirts, being able to sell plushies or headbands or stickers or 8x10s or whatever, it makes a difference. And it's important to be mindful that it isn't really a bad thing if you're unable to support them in that way. All they ask is that you show support in some fashion, man. If it's sharing something, sharing a post, if it's talking about them a little bit on social media or in your circles, and just being like, "Hey, they have a store, like they have an online store, a Shopify or something, or you can go to Pro Wrestling Tees, what have you. Like there are a lot of different stores in which you can go and find merchandise for your favorite wrestlers. And I don't know about you, but there's some really cool shirts, man. Like especially when you go to an indie show and you got these cool wrestlers that they come out and they show up and they're like, hey, you want to buy a shirt? I got these right here. I got some 8x10s. I got some stickers. I even got like a little poster. Maybe they got a towel with their insignia or name on it. Yeah, like when it comes to teas and stuff, that's the money time, brother. Like, I don't know about you, but I would not mind having like a wardrobe that is nothing but like wrestling t-shirts. Cause like some people they're like, well, that's not cute enough, and I'm like, you're not trying hard enough. You can stylize the hell out of some wrestling t-shirts. Like, I'm just saying. But that actually is going to allow me to segue into my next thing because the social experience when it comes to professional wrestling. How is that? How am I segueing into this? Because a good example of a person being able to stylize wrestling t-shirts and look damn good doing it is somebody that I follow on Instagram as well as Threads, and her name is Haven Rain, an amazing pro wrestling fan that also shares a lot of like wrestling news and stuff and a lot of takes and whatnot. She's super cool. There's another individual by the name of Suplex with two O's. He's Philadelphia based. I love all the stuff that he does for the wrestling community. There's Mini Portable, that's Mini with two I's and two N's and an E. She's super cool. She was just at SummerSlam last night, and she's amazing. She's wonderful. There's a lot of people. There are a lot of people that are big into like wrestling, that talk about wrestling, and then there's some people that they may not be exclusively wrestling based, but they're big wrestling fans. I think about Church 4K. He is hilarious, but I love a lot of the wrestling content that he does. There's a Slice of Alan, who's a comic drawer and writer that does a lot of comics based around wrestling and stuff. I love his stuff. I will assuredly link all those people down in the show notes, so support them if you can. But yes, let's talk a little bit more about like the social aspect of like being a wrestling fan, because it can vary. It can be a little different. It can be a little but back in the day is like, and I touched on this a little bit last night. At least I remember doing so at some point. When you were a wrestling fan, it was kind of seen as like, well, shun this person because they're into the stuff that's not real. It's not real, brother. You're a big fat nerd. You're weird. You like these dudes rubbing up all against each other, slamming each other to the ground. They're all oiled up, just muscly muscles. And I'm just like, but it's neat. It's cool though. Like, how often do you get to see somebody this like giving the finger to their boss, kicking their boss's ass, or is a literal dead man or a demon from hell that can cast fire? Like, I don't know about you, dude, but this stuff's kind of cool. And see, around that time, it was more acceptable. That being like the Attitude Era and whatnot. Like, the Attitude Era really was like the, yeah, this is the cool time, man. Like, I guess I can see why you nerds like this stuff. Like, yeah, suck it. Or like Stone Cold just giving the double bird and all that stuff. The Attitude Era did a lot in terms of like forming certain cultural cues, I would say. Now, I can't really say the same about like nowadays. Like, you'll still have people that do suck it. I mean, the middle finger is like, that was kind of a universal thing, anyways. But like crotch chops and saying "suck it," that's something that was very much like a niche exclusive thing. Or like "rest in peace" from Undertaker. There are a lot of sayings and mannerisms that people adopted. I mean, as much as I don't care about the man, like the Vince McMahon strut, yeah. I mean, that one MMA guy, the Connor dude, he does it every now and then, but who cares about him? Needless to say, wrestling has produced a lot of things for a lot of people in terms of like social interactions that I don't think a lot of people give it credit for, right? Because they just say, oh, well, this is just some goofy, hokey BS stuff. Why should I care about this dumb baby, like, this dumb baby entertainment drama sport ish? Because it's a good way to, like, connect with people. Like, I don't know about you, but all those times that I went to wrestling shows, even though I was not looking for a, like, conversation or, like, whatever, I was still able to, like, mingle with people and talk about things and get perspectives. Were all the perspectives good? Hell no. But it was still a good opportunity to get together and see where people were coming from, right? And that's the thing that I can honestly say I enjoy about wrestling. It's just like if you go to a club or if you go to like a concert or something,
and it's like you just chopping it up with somebody nearby, and you just, yeah, like, this is pretty baller, right? Like, oh yeah, it's pretty decent. Or like, man, that kind of sucked. I was like, yeah, it did kind of suck. And you just talk about it a little bit, and then in some cases, maybe you are able to form find a new confidant and such. Not always the case, but for that, I would say like there's a better chance of that at like indie shows, personally. Like, I feel like if I go to indie shows, I have a better chance of being able to make friends than if it's like a WWE live event, or even like SmackDown or Raw, or something from like AEW or whatever. Like, indie shows have a certain energy about them that you don't really see replicated too much on like televised wrestling companies. And it's just like it can be very unhinged at times, but I love that so much. Like, there's something so special about indie shows, brother. And it's like the wrestlers, they eat it all up too. They'll even let the crowd be a part of the show if necessary. And I love that. Another social experience, like, has to be if you're just walking around, and it's not like, it's more so expected when there's a wrestling show in town. But if it's just like a regular time of day, like a regular middle of the week time of day where you're not expecting it too much, then it's like, oh my god, maybe I can. Friend, is that friend? And that's like if you're somewhere and you see somebody wearing a wrestling shirt, and double points if you're also wearing a wrestling shirt, and it's like you just kind of get that head nod. You're just like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Is it's Oh man, like that, that's something, oh, that's something super, like, it's very cathartic. We're just like, okay, maybe I'm not just surrounded by a bunch of normies. Like, it's actually not just taboo to be out here with a wrestling shirt. Like, I see someone else with a wrestling shirt, I'm being noticed, I'm being acknowledged, they're being acknowledged, they're being noticed. And it's like you guys can kind of just be in the corner just giggling and stuff, and everybody else will be like, I don't understand what these two are talking about. And that's okay. Another aspect, though, another social experience that I feel like a lot of us have gone through, especially as kids, is wrestling with friends and family, man. Like, you want to talk about just great times during the summer, being at like my grandparents' house, and it's like I get my older cousins together, and of course, like, that's like not fair. That's never fair. That's worse than like video games, right? It's just like, oh yeah, like, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do like a handicap match. What's a handicap match? That's when it's more people versus less people. And it's like I remember having like a handicap match, me and my other young cousin versus our three older, much bigger cousins. And like we got our ass whooped. Like, we were just glorified punching bags for them to just spam all their favorite moves and stuff. But we were having a good time. And it's like you have to understand that that is probably one of the most exciting, most genuine bonding experience that anybody could have. Is whenever you can sit there and you can do like wrestling moves with like friends or family, and it's like you can both walk away like, yeah, this is fun. And it's like, of course, you hope that you don't break somebody's neck or anything, but that's when you have to have like a certain discernment of like, should I do this or should I not? Because it's like, okay, yeah, you can hit an RKO, but are you willing to take that back bump? Or hey, yeah, you could hit that stunner, but are you willing to take that booty bump? Hey, I want to do a pile driver. Do you know how to protect their neck? I'm not going to get into all that to take you away from wanting to do it, but it's just like understanding certain things should be done and certain things shouldn't be done. It's just that I feel like some people, they saw the don't try this at home and they're like, yeah, screw you, man. I'm going to do whatever I want. And then they try and do like a somersault and they're like, I broke did everything. It's just be mindful of what you want to do, right? It's not to take away the fun. It's not to take away any of the excitement or anything. It's just take care of yourself out there, okay, brother? It can be fun, but it can also be safe. It doesn't have to be boring. What exactly is the beauty and the beast of this business? My take on that. The beauty is whenever you can see certain groups represented, right? Like that for me, that's like the beauty of this business is when you can see certain like groups represented properly. Because it's like whenever you can see someone and you see yourself in them properly and fully and you get to see them be successful, it's like, man, maybe this really is for me. Because it's like, it's one thing to be like, oh, well, yeah, this person has like no correlation to me, but I mean, I still support them and like them. They're all right. And I mean, that's kind of the genuine experience, especially for somebody that's like queer and like gender diverse or trans or anything. It's like, you don't see too much of us in wrestling, right? It sucks that we're still fighting to have that be a thing, but it's like, I'll touch on that in the next segment of like queers in wrestling. But I would say the beauty is just being able to see proper representation in the sport, in the entertainment, and all that. There's also beauty in some of the stories that get told, even if they're not necessarily directly reflecting like personality. Maybe it's touching on subject matters that are very serious and need some type of like exposure, like major mainstream exposure. It's it's hard to really gauge how some of these things are meant to be taken, but it is ever so important for us to see more stories and more represented individuals and groups in wrestling now more than ever. Attitude Era and Ruthless Aggression, it pandered to a certain core group. There's no denying that. But there was still a level of enjoyment that could have been taken from that. And I feel like that has more so to do with the wrestlers that were put in some of those situations than the company heads as a whole. I would say that not everything was great in the Attitude Era or Ruthless Aggression as far as storylines. Like there's a lot of dark that came from those eras. And I mean, a lot of it stems from like Vince McMahon and how he wanted to conduct business. Like, looking back at how WWE used to be, like, having like bra and panty matches, having a group literally called the Lesbians, and just like eventually they got beat up by this group. I think it was what, 3 minute warning. And it's like just the over sexualization of various like women and femmes. Like there's a lot of over sexualization of a lot of women's and femmes and degradation. I think back to like how Lita would always get degraded as being like a slut, and then they were always making fun of her like thong and everything. And it's like she went through that. She endured that, and so many other like just weird, disgusting storylines. Man, like literally having a storyline where they were showcasing like and content warning necrophilia, as well as like something as just debaucherous as, hey, the boss is going to be the father of his daughter's child. Yeah, d- there's a lot of yuck and yikes back then. And a lot of that was stemming from Vince McMahon. I think it was just that he was trying to get that shock value, but at the same time, I think he was just genuinely deranged and just not safe for. He was not safe for life. Also, this man walked around with a do rag using AAVE. He even said nigga, and I'm just like, yeah, this man needs to be locked up. Unfortunately, he never got locked up, but his homeboy Donnie T got locked up. Well, not really, but he at least got indicted and all that, and impeached. I don't understand what it is about like rich white dudes, man. It's just it's a never ending just ugh, it's rough, dude. But I will say that even with all the weirdness that came out of the Altitude Era and Ruthless Aggression, we did get a lot of good. And it's like some people they kind of say, well, wrestling's not the same, and it's the snowflake woke era, and this that, and the third. And it's like, I mean, it's just not meant for you, and you just kind of outed yourself as just one of the people that ate that shit up, and you probably enjoy that shit in real life. Also, fuck the Hulk Hogan. Just saying, fuck the Hulk Hogan. I will never give that man flowers. I will never appreciate that man as a wrestler or a person. Just like he's right there with Vince and all that. Not a fan at all. Never have, never will be. I just hope at some point he can either keel over or just become like reformed to the highest degree. But either way, I feel like he needs to be locked up with Vince and Don and just kept in confinement. We don't need people like that running around at all. But one thing I will say, as far as like where we stand now and the post Vince McMahon era, is that I can see that the industry is in a way healing itself from the madness of this man, from all of the trauma and turmoil that he's caused people, as far as all the people that he's paid off for like sexual activities and all that stuff, all the harm that he's done to people just because of their identity or what have you. Like, yeah, just it's good to see that the business is starting to heal up and that WWE can really start coming into a proper renaissance era, man. Like this stuff that we've had to deal with for decades. It's just it's rough, man. To grim and bear it, and it's like now I'm seeing like wrestlers that they left because of Vince. Now they're like, I'm coming back. No more Vince. I'm not. I don't have to deal with Vince's bullshit anymore. Like that says something, man. That says something about what a person does to people, right? And like me in particular, with how black representation is kind of had in WWE, it's a bit of a hit and miss. Like I think about the joy of seeing several black men become world champion in my lifetime. Like it speaks values, and then it's like to have like several black women become world champion. That speaks value to me. To see my culture represented at the top of the mountain, it means something. Now, whether or not they get to hold the championship for long, that's another story. And it's like I have to be able to accept that it's just not going to always be us. And it is what it is, man. Same with like Hindu, Hispanic, Asian, like obviously outside of like their countries. Like cuz if you're in your country, yeah, you're going to have that, but like here in America, that's what I'm getting at. To have like major companies say, "Hey, we're going to have black champions," right? And they're going to stay champions for a good minute and not just be like, "Oh yeah, you're going to be champion for like maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, and then we're going to give it to the white guy, okay? Or the white girl, yeah?" It's just we just want to make sure that we're showcasing that we stand with the black people. No, 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 no. Be confident that they can carry the torch. Like whenever Bianca was champion, she carried that torch. She ran with that torch. The longest reigning women's champion. Hello? To see like the New Day at various intervals of their career be champions, all different types of champions. Whenever Kofi Kingston won the WWE Championship, brother, I cried. It was a beautiful experience because it had been so long since I had seen like a black man win a championship, man. Like I was the same way with a lot of other like black people that won championships. It was beautiful, man. But now it's like I need the next step, the next elevation. I need a black transgender diverse person or just a black queer person to hold world championship gold. That's the next thing. That's all I could ask for, man. That's all I could ask for. But that helps me segue into what I would have had as the main event. You know what? I will make it the main event. We're going to get into a fun little segment to kind of break up the seriousness and all that. How does one create a wrestler and how does one put on a show? The short and sweet is treat it like D&D, right? Like if you understand how to create a character, then I feel like you can understand how to create a wrestler. It's just that you have to understand the universe of wrestling and a lot of nuances to the medium. So, one big thing is just understanding the gimmick that you want and how that's going to translate into the world of wrestling. That's the biggest thing. It's like, okay, so let's say that your whole thing is that you like D&D. I'll let you in on a secret. There have been wrestlers that have wrestled and they had a whole D&D gimmick. I can try and link you to that if you so desire to know. But like how do you translate that into being a professional wrestler? I mean, there's literally a guy that's like a pizza maker. His name is Luigi. He's a pizza maker. He has this whole gimmick where he'll wrestle a whole match while spinning dough. And he incorporates that into his wrestling. Like being able to figure out what you want to portray in the ring and being willing to double down on it and make it into something big, right? Because I feel like we've seen enough of, hey, I'm just a I'm just an athlete that just wants to be the world champion, and I'm like that. Like we've seen enough of that, right? Or like for a femme wrestler, where it's like I want to be the baddest on the planet, blah blah blah. Yeah, we've seen that, but it's like what sets you apart from the rest of the pack? That's what we need to know. You have to play up to what makes you stand out. You have to have something that's like, well, there's these people, but then there's that person. And that person I could never confuse for anyone else. You got to be able to have that, like, that it factor in the sense of this is what makes me just pop, right? And people, as soon as they see you, they're like, "Ooh, okay, that's so and so. All right, I see you. I see you. I acknowledge you. I perceive you in a good way." Then after that, it's like you can work on some of the goals that you have. Like obviously, oh, I want to be world champion, or oh, I want to wrestle so and so, or I want to get to this company, or I just want to be able to fulfill blah blah blah, right? I want to be the next so and so, or I just want to make money. In which case, kind of yikes. But I mean, I get it. I mean, pop off, pop off. Once you kind of have all that together, it's like you're gonna start training. You're gonna start training. Obviously, you have to have some level of physical fitness. I'm not gonna sit here and say you gotta have like a 12 pack and you gotta be able to run 30 miles because there are people that are um, there are a lot of people of differing body types. You have people that are bigger and they're heavier and they can wrestle, they can go, they have great cardio, even though they are a larger individual. So do not feel like you need to be some like Olympic level individual in terms of physique and everything. You don't have to be that. You just have to be able to run the ropes. You got to be able to work a match that can go longer than 2 minutes and just be able to be durable because when you fall on that wrestling ring, it is not as cushioned as you think it is. If you fall outside of the ring, it's not going to be a very comfortable landing. You have to train your body to be able to take the punishment as well as dish it out as well. So that'll be the next thing is getting your body right, getting in shape. And then once you start training how to work in the ring, you can start looking at okay, well, what type of moves do I want to have in my arsenal? What type of style of wrestling do I want to have? Do I want to be a submission based wrestler, a catch as catch can style, strong style? Do I want to be a high flyer? Do I want to just do all the cool flips and stuff? Do I want to be a striking master? Do I want to tap into like mixed martial arts and stuff? Or do I want to be a powerhouse? Do I want to be somebody that's super strong that can lift up people that are like twice my size and bench pressing people and slamming them really hard? What is your style of wrestling? What complements you, you feel like? Because it's like my favorite thing is like big wrestlers that move like people half their size or a quarter of their size. Two examples are Big Van Vader and Keith Lee. When I say there's something so novel about a big man that can move so nimble, I lose my shit every time. It is something just surreal because it's like it's defining, it's quote unquote defining physics, right? You're like 300 plus pounds. How are you able to do like spin kick and do flips and do like leapfrogs and all this stuff? And it's just like because I can, because I'm athletic. Being an athlete, brother. Being nimble like a cat but big like a bear. That is that is my favorite. That has to be my favorite. That has to be my favorite gender. Nimble like cat, big like bear, brother. Like, sign me up. Sign me up. Now, with all that, let's say you've graduated from your wrestling school and now they're ready to put you in a match. You've shown promise, you've done the work, you're looking ready, you're looking huge, you're looking hungry, and now your wrestling promoter or teacher is like, we're going to get you a match on a show. So, now what? Now that you're going to be in a match, you need to go ahead and start working with getting information on your opponent. Now, this isn't going to just necessarily be like, oh, I'm not going to see my opponent until the match. You'll most likely meet up with your opponent at some point shortly after getting that information, and then you guys are going to start going over things. It's like script reading. You're going to sit down with your dance partner, essentially. And in doing so, you guys are going to talk about certain spots that you're going to do. If you remember what spots are, that's scripted sequences. And then, of course, the finish will usually have been thought up by the person in charge. So the whole thing will be how do we get to the end piece? And what story are we going to tell leading up to that end piece? Because it's not always just a one and done, one off, blah, blah, blah. There's still some sort of story that has to be told, even if it's not meant to be a long, drawn out program that you're working with this person. So you guys are going to do that. You're going to talk about how you're going to get to the finish, what's going to happen either after the finish or what's going to happen before the finish. And then you're also going to look at the potential of having to call things in the ring. When it comes to calling things in the ring, that's pretty much just kind of like feeding notes mid-match. Like on the fly, you're feeding notes just in case somebody doesn't remember what happens next. Or sometimes you have to call things on the fly because we got off cue, or yeah, we're kind of pacing ourselves a little poorly. So yeah, sometimes you will have to call things in the ring, and that makes it makes things a little difficult at times. But at the same time, it makes things super fun. I feel like, in my opinion, and just be sure that you are not going to build any animosity towards an individual if they screw up, because we're all human. Some people, they get really pissed off with like, oh, you screwed this up for me, and now I'm gonna look bad. And I'm like, no, that's not the case, honey. Like, it is what it is. It be like that. We're human. We make mistakes. We're not the best. But yeah, that's what goes into creating a wrestler and working a match. Now, I dare say it is time for the main event. I would like to preface this with the fact that I've really had fun with this little project. It didn't come out as I exactly intended it, but I mean, that's life. Nothing ever really comes out the way we expect it to come out, right? Which makes for a great segment because we're talking about queers in wrestling. So, for me, being a black, queer, transgender diverse individual, it pays to be able to see me on TV as much as possible in a positive light. And it's hard to really receive that often without some sort of backlash from trolls online or just people that are ignorant and have no real intelligence. So, whenever I'm able to discover somebody that is queer, transgender, diverse, and they're doing their thing, it makes my world just full, especially when it comes to the world of wrestling. So, I do want to touch on this as extensively as possible with what I know so far. Like, I know that there are promotions specifically for queers, and I think that's amazing. Like, give us our own space and allow us to just show you how good we really are in the ring. And it's it is to say that there have been queer wrestlers in the past, but it's always been just kind of like hush hush, right? Like, you're never really going to know if somebody's gay or lesbian or whatever until they're long gone or something. Like, what was it? Canyon. There was a wrestler by the name of Canyon. Oh, he was a gay man. Canyon was cool, but it's not like WWE was going to let you know about that. You were going to have to figure that out through like searching and digging and maybe catching so and so kissing their significant other or whatever. But we'll start with hmm. Yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and start with the companies that one can find as far as like queer wrestling companies. So I know Boston has one. I discovered this recently, and it's titled Blow, BLOWW, Boston League of Wicked Wrestlers. That one is specifically DIY Fem and GNC Pro Wrestling League. But, like, you want to talk about an experience unlike any other. I know there was Pride Style that did some things not too long ago. Um, Effie does a show specifically for GCW, and that is Effie's Big Gay Brunch. It happens throughout the year. It's a yearly event, but Effie is openly gay. He is a phenomenal individual, an exceptional wrestler too. Like my goodness, Effie can go. I remember somebody saying something about a wrestling company or promotion out in California. FQ, full queer wrestling. It's it's a little interesting to see where we're heading going forward for like wrestling companies and just wrestlers as a whole. Like I wonder if WWE is willing to delve deeper into having more queer based wrestlers, because I mean they have a couple of queer wrestlers right now in the form of like Sonya Deville, Tegan Knox, Shayna Baszler. They have a couple of queer wrestlers, but it's just I don't know if they're willing to allow them to really talk about that, which is sad. Like, I think they should be allowed to like, hey, yeah, so like, I'm lesbian or I'm gay or whatever. Because it's like you'll look at other promotions and it's like you'll see that there are plenty of wrestlers that are queer and they're just like living their best life and they're able to talk about how they're like queer and stuff. But maybe that's just me wanting to be a little too like pop offish. Like there was a wrestler that used to be in WWE. His name is Fred Rosser now, but like he is a gay man. Two of or not two, but three of my favorite queer wrestlers right now, I would say, would have to be as far as like what they're doing right now, like Speedball Mike Bailey, hands down, identifies as non-binary, either uses they, them, or he, him. Yay, they exclusive or they are currently wrestling in TNA. They are the X Division champion. Another one is Anthony Bowens, one half of the greatest tag team in all elite wrestling, the Acclaimed. Anthony Bowens, openly gay, has an amazing partner. They do a lot of these adorable little YouTube videos because they're both into acting and stuff and whatnot. Funny stuff. Oh my goodness, I love them to bits. And then another person, another standout, I would say, is Kid Bandit. Currently transitioning to Femme, but Kid Bandito, the sweetest bean. The protagonist of pro wrestling, heavily influenced by like anime and video games. Oh my god, I love Bandit. And currently, Bandit is on the shelf, recovering from surgery. Not like gender surgery, but like recently had an injury. So yeah, like I love Bandit so much. I can't wait to see Kid Bandit back in the ring doing amazing things. Like there are a lot of great individuals as far as like for the queer community of wrestling. It's just a matter of if we're going to get to see more of that going forward, because I feel like especially with the scope of how our society and our world is working now more than ever, it would pay to have these types of like wrestlers in the forefront. And it's like one of the biggest things that I feel like why it's so important is because it's like I always have like sit down situations where I'm watching wrestling and I'm always like watching it around people and people are watching it as well, and it's like you're gonna have like the cisgender people making their goofy ass comments and stuff, and it's like especially in light of what's been taking place with the Olympics, it's like you'll get one person that the cis people will assume is trans, and it's like you guys really don't know anything, do you? You don't know anything at all. And it's, I want to say it's sad, but at the same time, it's just tiresome. It's annoying. It's ignorant. And it's just like you don't deserve to experience anything in life if that's how you're going to just keep acting. Queer wrestling does a lot for not just wrestling industry, but for communities as a whole. Because I mean, it's just like with drag shows. I think queer wrestling and drag shows, they go hand in hand. I feel like I'd like to see more of it. I'd love for it to be a lot more like prominent. Of course, I know there's going to be a lot of pushback. There's going to be a lot of like people that are going to want to try and do some harm because they don't like it. But it's like we have to keep fighting. We have to keep fighting. Otherwise, they're going to keep trying to push us in a box and forcing us to work under their rules. Nah, not anymore. There's too much good that's being put into this world through queer people for it to just keep being hush hush. I do want to finish this with a couple of wrestlers that are standouts for me, right? Like for both mask, femme, but also for like diverse and all that. I already name dropped a few people, but like these, I would say are like some of my favorite wrestlers to watch right now. Xavier Woods, I love everything that he does. He is essentially like a big brother to me. Up, Up, Down, Down is his baby, and that's a YouTube channel if you want to check that out. Zelina Vega, I love her to bits. She's kind of like Xavier Woods. They're kind of like brother sister. Love Kid Bandit. You should check her out whenever you get a chance. She is the sweetest chaotic being ever. Speedball, of course. I just mentioned that. Nyla Rose. You want to talk about Chaos Mommy? Like Chaos Mommy right there. She wrestles with Ring of Honor. She was with AEW. She wrestles with Ring of Honor. Asuka, obviously. Oh my God, Asuka. Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. And Naomi. Like the big three. Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, and Naomi. Black excellence at its finest. It keeps giving me it like I love them like I love the New Day. I love everything that they do together, and I can only hope for more excellence out of them and excitement. In terms of like any old wrestlers that I enjoy, like I mean, I guess I could say John. Like it's taken me a long time to be down with John Cena, but just seeing everything that he does and how much of an advocate he is for a lot of different communities, like I love John. He's actually planning to retire next year at WrestleMania. He's on his farewell. He is on his farewell tour. He just announced that, and I'm glad that he's been able to be a part of the wrestling business. There was a time where he was not going to be. There was a time where he was going to be fired from WWE. Actually, uh, Edge, Adam Copeland, Edge. Still love Edge. He's a great wrestler. He's oof. Man's still going. He recently broke his leg, but he's working on coming back soon. Shoko Nachi, oh my God, I hacked that all up. That was a botch. I'm leaving that in. Shoko Nakajima. Ah, I had like a little bit of like spit try and like shoot up as I was saying that. Okay. Yuka Sakazaki. Saya Ida. She is an absolute brick. Like Saya Ida. I think I'll actually like put a photo down in the show notes of Saya Ida, just so you can understand why I like Saya Ida. Like as soon as you'll see the photo, you'll understand. And I think that's it, honestly. Like, I had fun doing all of this. I don't want to try and go too long with this. I think just because of what happened yesterday, and it's like I'm giving you guys over like 2 hours of like wrestle yapping, right? So I think this is a great ending point. As I say again, watch wrestling. Um, SummerSlam was really good. I'm kind of happy that the things that happened last night happened because a lot of them I was anticipating to happen, and most of them happened. So it is it is a pleasure to be into something like this. Hopefully, this kind of gave you an idea of what it is to be a wrestling fan. I know I'm not the most knowledgeable. I did kind of ramble here and there, but it's just like I wanted to do this regardless of if I had all the information down because it's just something that's been on my mind, and I like to continue working with getting better at doing podcast stuff. Eventually, I do want to do like an extensive video where I just go deeper into like the world of wrestling and what it means to me, especially when it comes to queer wrestlers. I do want to do like a proper breakdown of that and whatnot, and who I think is going to be a standout for queer wrestling going forward. But with all that out of the way, I do want to give this a proper closing. So thank you all for attending this spectacle of spectacles. I will not be doing another podcast until the week after. And to kind of give preface to what is taking place this week, on Wednesday, I will be hopping on a plane and I will be going to Nashville, Tennessee, and I will be spending a month in Tennessee. And I will be with a lot of my lovelies that I've met there, and we're going to be having a good old time. I will be making posts. My next podcast will follow week after. So, yep, there won't be a podcast this weekend, but next weekend there will be a podcast. Next week as the 17th? Yes, 17th. Something like that. But any hoodle, thank you all for giving me a little time with you. Thank you for clicking on this if you did. If not, I look forward to whenever you can listen to it. But with all that, enjoy your evening. Enjoy your company. Enjoy your life. Enjoy you. Stay caked up, stay healed up, and remember to watch wrestling. Bye bye, lovelies.